Hello, this is Carrie Wolf with the American Jersey Cattle Association. Today I'd like to talk with you about the multi-breed genomic evaluations that were first available April 2nd, 2019. CDCB, the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding, released the first multi-breed genomic evaluation. This was after extensive collaborative research and development between USDA, Animal Genomics Improvement Laboratory, and CDCB, the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding. They've produced a cutting-edge approach that results in a multi-breed blended evaluation. The evaluation is actually the weighted average of SNP effects for multiple breeds that are evidenced in that individual. All genotyped animals now will receive a genetic estimate of their value. Back in 2016, CDCB had developed and published values for a breed-based representation, or BBRs, and this helped to distinguish the breed composition amongst dairy cattle. But through continued research leading to the multi-breed evaluation, it became obvious that BBRs needed to be recalculated to more accurately identify the genetic makeup of individuals. So just a refresher on BBR, it's an estimate of the DNA contributed to an animal by each of 5 evaluated breeds. That includes Holstein, Jersey, Brown Swiss, Ayrshire, and Guernsey. And here's an example of how one animal may start through the process in coming up with a BBR. In this case, this animal has been identified as being 80% Jersey DNA, 16% Holstein, 2% Brown Swiss, 2% Ayrshire, and 0% Guernsey. Now, in the statistical world, that 2% is considered within the realm of statistical noise, and what has been decided is to move that 4% here, any animals under at 2% or lower, to reportion that DNA contribution back to the primary breeds, in this case Jersey and Holstein. So again, it's proportionally rescaled, and this is what we end up with for the final BBR on this animal. We now have an animal that is 83% BBR Jersey, 17% Holstein. There we go. So going forward, animals will receive their first official BBR when they receive their first official monthly evaluation. What took place in April to recalculate all animals will continue to be done. However, no new BBRs will actually be made available or published if the breed percentages differ by less than 4%. So you would see a recalculated BBR if those percentages change by 4 percentage points and higher, so to say. Going forward, we're only going to see new BBRs with the first monthly evaluation for a new animal. And any animals that have calculated BBRs, we will not see a change unless there's more than 4% change. So to take a look at how this has impacted the data that's flowing into the AJCA database and made available in reports, on April 2nd, we received 223,165 BBRs that could be tied to Jersey identification, and these BBRs were updated in the database. Of those, 12% of the BBRs changed in value compared to a prior BBR. So there's about 26,000 animals that changed BBR. Drill down a little bit more, 3,987 were actually lowered from a BBR of 90 and higher to under 90. Again, we'll talk about the significance of that in the next slide. But in this case, there were 3,987 who were lowered. Of those, 297 were males, 73 of them had NAAB codes, and 3,689 were females. Predominantly females in the case in our database were impacted. For those that were raised above 90, there were 253 animals that actually their BBRs changed to now be above the 90 threshold. Those included 30 males, those are 8 with NAB codes, and 223 females. So let's talk a little bit about how the information flows through the system at CDCB. At the top, the April 2019 new genotype candidate came into the system and then was separated into one of three groups. On your left would be BBRs less than 90. These animals flow into the multi-group. These are the animals that will eventually end up with the M evaluations or the multi-breed genomic evaluations. Their PTAs are based on a weighted average of the single breed SNP effects represented in that animal. So in the prior example, we saw that this example animal was 83% Jersey and 17% Holstein. So it would be a weighted averages of those two breed SNP effects that would roll into this animal's PTA. Now if we go back up to the top again and go and flow down, straight down, the next group would be animals that had BBRs 90, 91, 92, and 93. They are now a part of a single group. Those are the single breed SNP effects, and that's what the PTA is based on, is the single SNP effects, in this case Jersey, would be what is used to develop the PTA for that animal. If you go to the top again and flow to the group to the right, these are the animals that have BBRs greater than or equal to 94, and they're expressed as 100. So you would see these on lists and reports as animals with a BBR of 100. They also are a part now of a single group evaluation. So their PTAs actually are derived from the same SNP effects that the single group in the 90 to 93 BBR range. However, the distinction here is, if you go to the far right, the animals expressed as 100 serve as the PTA reference population. And these are the animals that are used to actually translate their SNP effects and come up with the SNP effects for the Jersey breed. Again, those SNP effects flow back through the system, impact the PTAs for both types of single groups, and also impact the multi-group. So the breed of evaluation is a critical distinction in determining how the genetic evaluations will be expressed. So the breed of evaluation is usually set to the breed with the highest BBR. However, there is an exception to this. The exception is when the highest BBR is less than 55%. This typically would indicate that this is a first generation cross, or an F1 generation. And in addition to that, the exception also includes that the declared breed of the animal and the ID has the second highest BBR. And in this case, we'll give you an example. And there is a leeway put in there that difference is not more than 10 percentage points less than the top BBR. So here's an example. This Jersey has been submitted, fictitious ID here, and the resulting BBR for this animal indicates that she's 48% Jersey, 52% Holstein. However, based on the rule that was given, the breed of evaluation for this animal may not be the top BBR, the highest BBR, but it's certainly within that 10 percentage points. So this animal matching her ID with the BBR is now going to be expressed on a Jersey scale. So what exactly does that mean? That animal is not going to be reported on the Jersey breed base. And how to interpret evaluations that are expressed on breed bases is that what is expected to be transmitted to the offspring when mated to a Jersey. That's a very critical part of interpretation of genetic evaluations, always has been, that the base that is used to express the genetic and genomic evaluations really determines how to interpret the information that's provided. It's forward-looking to the next generation and assumes that that animal will be mated to a Jersey. So here's the AJC action leading up, or actually following, the release of the April 2nd genomic evaluations. In this case, the type of evaluation is very prominent and is what is being put forward for visibility and transparency's sake. At the March 2019 AJCA board meetings, the directors approved several changes to how that information will be published. And the first is, as on your screen here, that we will be adding the S and M codes to indicate what type of evaluation the animals' resulting genomic evaluations are based on. In addition, those with an M code will see, or an M evaluation, will see an M inserted after the JPI to indicate that the JPI was based on a multi-breed evaluation. So here's an example of performance pedigree. This might help visualize what we're talking about here. In this case, this particular cow, Sunset Devotion Academy, has a BBR of 100. We could stop right there because we know with a BBR that animals with 100 are going to have a single breed genomic evaluation. But we've opted to include that as well in the information that's printed on the performance and progeny report of this animal. So you see that there's also an S code. So you don't really have to think translating, well, if it's 100, what does that mean? So it's right here for you. That same animal, if we look at her performance pedigree, again, the BBR of 100, again, we see the S code inserted with her genetic evaluation. And then also on this to your right, in the middle of the page, is a list of her progeny at this point. And that animal has a JPI of 124. And because that's a S evaluation, there's no additional notation made at that point. Now, if we look at the bottom part of this pedigree, this would be the sire and the dam and maternal great-grandsire and granddam, and it's been truncated at the top, so all we see is the paternal dam. So let's just take a look at how the notation is included here. The sire devotion is an S code bull. As is the maternal grandsire, an S code. That's inserted, both of these bulls, BBRs of 100. Additionally, the dam, the paternal dam on this animal is an S code animal, and that's been indicated as well. And once again, I've advanced the slide prior to my desire, but we'll go forward here. This particular example is for a female with a BBR of 87. In this case, we would know with that BBR that this would be a multi-breed genomic evaluation. So the M is inserted in that information. In addition, an M has been inserted following the JPI of this animal. So we know that the genomic JPI is the result of a multi-breed evaluation. In the middle of this page, to the right, you see that this animal has two progeny. Both of the progeny have genomic evaluations, and they are based on a multi-breed evaluation as well, and you can see that by the M's. Take a look at another example. This is a performance and progeny report for another female, this one with a BBR of 79, and again, resulting in an M. So to talk a little bit more about AJCA action as it relates to the Green Book, this is some of the decisions made by the board. To summarize this, the Green Book reports will include single breed evaluations S. They will be separated into sections that will include a multi-breed blended evaluation M. That will be a separate section. Bulls with a multi-breed blended evaluation M will be available for reports including the marketed bulls, NAAB codes A, F, and G, and also summarized bulls with the M evaluation. Females with the multi-breed blended evaluation will be available only online. The reports online will include the top 100 females cows and the top 100 genotyped heifers. So I'll show you how to find that. If you go to the Green Book site, and there's the address above, you'll come to the opening page will give you a bar across the top where you can opt to select what bulls you want to take a look at. And what I've done is I've gone to the marketed bulls and pulled out just the section to show you how the multi-breed blended evaluations are available. It's a separate section that you can go and find the information. Again, the S code bulls are provided in the other reports. This is a separate section for the M code. If you want to look at cows and females, here's where you would find it. Go to the tab cows and heifers, and below is some of the information that will display, and you can find that there's a separate section for the multi-breed blended evaluations. One of the things that we've also done to help people make decisions and to understand how this might impact their sire selection is changes to bullseye. The address is up here as a part of Info Jersey. Be glad to help anyone who wants to venture into using this that hasn't before. But what we want to point out today is that you have all kinds of options for selecting the bulls to include in your sire selection process. And what we've added to this is, in the black box here, is that we've included a check for single breed group evaluations or multi-breed. So you can turn the check on or off. If you want to include all animals, leave the checks on, and you can just turn them off if you wanted to drill down and make different filters in the selection process. For instance, if we start today, there's 505 marketed bulls with NAAB codes of A, F, and G. If you were to check just the S bulls, you would end up with 461 of those out of the 505. If you were to choose just the M bulls, you would end up with 44 bulls. Again, we'd be willing to help anyone who has questions about using this tool, but we find it very useful, and I hope that you will too. It helps to sort through the bulls, and you can use all types of filters to build into the reports. We've gone through a lot of information here in the last couple webinars, but this slide lists the resources that I would recommend, or that we would recommend to you. It does include information released by CDCB in their Connections publication. It also includes the address for a webinar put on by CDCB that goes through the extensive detail of how the multi-breed genetic evaluations were developed. And then there's several U.S. Jersey references here. Of course, the Green Book. There's also a YouTube webinar that was prior to this one that talked about what U.S. Jersey planned to do once we got the evaluations. And then the third reference is to the editorial that will appear in the April Jersey Journal, as well as part of the printed version of the Green Book, and also can be viewed online as well. It does cover a lot of the detail, or a lot of the information that we covered here in this webinar. Again, if you want more information, please feel free to contact me. My email address and phone number are there on the screen, as well as the general U.S. Jersey site, and we'd be glad to handle any and all questions, and hope that this information has proved useful for you. Bye now.